that day like when you arrived in Newcastle?
Oh, it was a very cold day, very cold indeed.
This was winter, was it?
No, it wasn't quite winter. It was the 24th of August, 1961. And I was shivering, the tears were rolling down my cheek, you know. I was saying to myself, why did I leave my beautiful, you know, homeland, you know, to come to face this misery, you know? And an English lass came to me. She said, where are you going? Oh, I said, I'm going to Newcastle. She said, well, I don't want to daunt your spirit, but you're going to the worst part of the country for weather, you know. She says, it's way up north and it's very cold and damp up there, you know. And eventually I found out this was so. You know, it's dampness that really gets us up here. You know. But I reckon once you can live in Newcastle, you can live anywhere in the world, you know.
Gus Gill came from Trinidad 12 years ago to the mother country. At least that's how Gus thinks of Britain. And this film is about Gus and Julie and their family, and especially Errol, their eldest son, who's a Geordie with the one difference that he's black. The Gill family aren't meant to typify the black population of this country. Tyneside doesn't have ghettos like Brixton and Bradford. But what is typical about them is their journey through a racial minefield that is our society, and through all our racist fantasies, like the one that accuses immigrants of living off the dole and taking all the jobs. The Gill family, like the overwhelming majority of immigrant families, has given more to Britain than Britain has given to them. They take less from the social services than the equivalent white family. They're not on any council's housing list, and they've never been out of work. I suppose it's a cliche to say that they're a family of our times, but that's what they are. Because even though most of the media regard race as something best left ignored, race is still the issue. At least this one British family knows that.
Way up in the middle of the earth, Ziggy saw the wheel turning. Way up in the middle of the earth, the big wheel run by fate, and the little wheel run by the grace of God. It's a wheel and a wheel turning. Way up in the middle of the earth. Some go to church, one sing and shout.
This is Errol, age 19.
Before 6 months, they all turn out. Way in the middle of the earth.
His mother, Julie, a very gentle woman. His 9-year-old sister, Andrea, and 14-year-old Wendy. Like most Geordies, Errol is confident and sharp. Judy is 7 and the youngest. Leon is 16 and on his way to an apprenticeship with Middlesbrough Football Club. Gateshead is Errol's turf. He was 7 when Julie brought the family from Trinidad to this industrial valley, the year after Gus came over alone. And since then, his school, his job, and his home have all been here.
By the grace of God, it's a wheel and a wheel turning. Way up in the middle of the earth.
What do you miss about Trinidad? What do you miss?
I miss the fruit, the weather in particular, yeah. The climatical conditions, is, you know, it's just ideal. And friends, you know, I've got, you know, I had lots of friends in Trinidad. I've got lots of friends in England now, you know, but you do feel homesick now and again. There's no place like home, really.
Gus, did you get a shock when you encountered the first expression of prejudice?
Yeah, I was indeed, not sure, I wouldn't call it surprised, you know, because, I mean, that sort of thing never happens in the West Indies, you know. The thing is this, if you have got the money, you can go anywhere. You can go to the country club. I mean, I have been to the country club many times, you know, but singing, you know. But once you've got the money, you can go, nobody will stop you. You can build a house anywhere. You can buy a house anywhere. You don't find these prejudices. But if you don't have money, I mean, people sort of look down on you. You know, that's the sort of thing.
Had you expected to find any?
No, not at all,
here?
because I knew quite a lot of English people in Trinidad, and I got along marvelously well with them. You know.
And what was it? What was that? The first time that you ran into racial prejudice?
Well, the first difficulty was, you know, when I heard the remark, you know, by this cripple, you know, when he told the lad that went to his assistant, you know, take your hands off me, you're a black bastard. You know, I was shocked. You know, I never thought that I would hear such a remark from, you know, people from a civilized country.
This is the west end of Newcastle, Tyneside's small black ghetto, and Gus's introduction to a civilized country. Rocky Byron is Gus's oldest friend. Rocky was working in a foundry when Chris Mullard, the author of the book Black Britain, took him into community relations work in Newcastle. Since then, Rocky started an experimental club for black and white kids. And this is the house in Warrington Road where Gus came when he arrived on that rainy day in 1962. He was then at the bottom of the hill and the bottom of the heap. And the bottom of the heap for Gus meant a casual job with British Railways, a week's work for just £7.10.
You know, there's one fact that the black man has to face. There is no middle road. If you're a black man, you're a black man. I am not saying that as black people, or even Errol, that we shouldn't conform to certain things within the structure of the society. But he must realize, he must preach, he must say, I'm black. Once he's going to walk outside with a false identity, once he's going to feel that because all my friends are white, and because they are patting me on the shoulder, that I can walk into an office or go and ask for a job with the assumption that I'll be taken for white, well, that's it, he's finished.
This is Moore Street, where Gus took his family from the ghetto, partly thanks to a loan from his old friend Rocky. This was the white society whose acceptance was so important to Gus, and he moved his family into number 63, the only black family in the street. Gus was now halfway up the hill.
Did you know Mr. Gill, his dad,
Yes,
very well?
Yeah. Keeping all right?
Yeah.
Your mum and all? I see your mum pretty often, you know.
When they first moved in, was it a surprise to all the neighbours having coloured family in the street, or did it matter?
I mean to say, some people, you know, are not like what I am. I mean to say, I'm not prejudiced at all.
Yeah.
Never have been. I mean to say, I was out in India for a long time.
Yeah.
And I got used to these people.
Yeah. In those first days when the Gill family arrived, was there a time that they had to get over to be accepted, or were they?
Well, I don't know. I think they were pretty well accepted here, more or less, you know, because well, we took to them straight away. Your mum and dad.
I'll tell them that I've seen you and you've said hello.
Yes. Very pleased, anyhow.
Right,
well,
Right.
bye-bye then.
Well, thanks.
Take care. You want
See you
to
then.
now?
Cheerio.
Bye-bye now.
Take care of
Okay,
yourself.
all the best.
Cheerio.
Bye-bye. Well, I remember you.
Yeah.
Eh?
They all know me for that very well.
I knew he was singing, all right.
Fun?
Did they hear him singing?
Yeah. They've got a Methodist church down the bottom.
He used to
and
sing
once or twice, and then, you know, he went to different dudes all over the place.
Yeah.
The life crown is won, when our troubles and the trials are o'er.
I remember, you know, the first year that I won the writing competition. I mean, to me, I think this is the steepest competition in the region to win. When I won it that year, I was the happiest man in England. I felt that I had achieved something. I felt, you know, by winning, even winning this, I was accepted. I mean, there was no discrimination. I mean, the adjudicator could have easily said, well, look, why should I, you know, I mean, give this to a black man, you know, when there's, you know, there were about 11 other white people in the class, you know. But this wasn't so. And I felt then I was accepted as a human being.
Do your children, particularly your older children and Errol, do you think they understand the struggle of immigrant parents?
No, they don't at all.
No, they are just like the English children.
They feel very much English, you know.
Act the same and, you know, everything like the English children.
Of course, I don't blame them. They're not wrong in this attitude. But of course, they don't know the problems of immigrants at all.
Well, they don't regard themselves as immigrants.
No, they don't, you see. No.
And there's no reason, really, why they should.
Why they should, really.
Is there any time during the week that you talk with your father? I mean, do you have any, is there any time that you have any kind of relationship with your father?
Not really, because he's on night shift, you see. And, well, by the time I come in from work, he's nearly ready for going into work, you see.
But apart from that, do you have a relationship with your father?
Well, not really, you know.
Could you imagine the struggle that he's had since he arrived here? Do you know much about that? Can you imagine the struggle that he's had?
Well, I've never really thought of it, you know. I've just leading my life and I'm going along, you know. I'm finding out all the problems myself.
Yeah.
Gus is a foreman at this bakery and very proud of the job, almost grateful in a way that Errol and his generation would not be grateful. In return, the company pays him just over £40 a week for working from 7 at night to 7 in the morning, 6 days a week. Oh yes, and they've put him on the staff. The white world has given Gus what he regards as a final and precious acceptance. Gus's first application for a job was at Dunlop's, and the anti-discrimination laws had not been extended to jobs then.
So he got on to Dunlop Rubber Company. I was standing in the office there with him. And the chap said, I heard the boy says, oh yes, we need 3 men. So the chap said, well, I've got a chap here, he would like to work constant night shift. So I heard the voice said, you know, on the telephone, would you send him down straight away? So he said, oh yes, I can do this. He said, but by the way, he's West Indian. And the voice said, oh, we don't want any colored people here. Don't bother to send him. Well, of course, I can imagine, you know, I could have seen that the bloke was, the chap, you know, he was embarrassed about this. And he said, well, would you not reconsider what you have just said? And the voice on the phone said, I have nothing to reconsider. And he slammed the receiver down. And the chap at the door said, Mr. Gill, he says, I must apologize about this, you know. And he says, well, look, I'll tell you what. He says, I'll make it my business to try to get you a job. He says, anything that comes in, you know, we'll send for you at home. He says, don't bother to come, we'll make it our duty to send. And one day, of course, I was in the house and this card came to the letterbox telling me to call to the door straight away. I went down and they said that Denton's Bakery wanted a night shift packer. So the next morning I came down at 9 o'clock and I saw the shop's manager and he interviewed me. He says, well, I'm expecting some other people, so you'll be hearing from us. So I was a bit suspicious, you know, so what I did, I went back to the door and told the chap, I said, well, this is what they told me, but I don't think I'll hear from them. So he took the card, he says, Mr. Gill, look at this. I'm tearing this card if nobody else is going to go down to Denton, you know. And we'll make sure that they send for you. Yeah. But anyhow, by 2 o'clock, I got a call from Denton's asking me if I can start the night. And I started, that was the 4th of April, 6 years ago, you know. And well, I started as a packer, and within 6 months I was made charge hand, and about a month after I was made foreman. So I've been foreman now over 5 years.
Whereas Gus has struggled and is grateful, Errol is the opposite. Errol is a bonus clerk in a firm making beer kegs. Unlike Gus, he feels no need to crave acceptance because he's grown up here and he regards himself as no different from any other young Geordie. Errol is a black who's grown up white, and there are now the first signs that he's having to choose. Until recently, he drew his heroes straight from the white telly world, James Bond and white sharpies like that. But now that's changed. Now in his fantasies, he is Shaft, the all-black hero.
Well, also.
There seems to be a lack of communication between the immigrant father and the Geordie son.
Yes,
Why
because it was fortunate or unfortunate in the sense that Gus, after he left the West End, where most of his coloured friends live, and he went over to Gateshead, Errol then had to sort of grow up completely in a white society. all his friends are white, even from his time of going to school. So it means that we, the bigger ones who already grown up, he only knows us invariably as his father friend. But he was never able to sort of meet with us and talk and chat and what have you. So his ideologies would be Europeanized because all the friends he have is white.
Isn't that a danger then, that he's really growing up with a mental white skin, which means the problems that he might run into later on are going to hit him all the more harder?
Well, this could be so. This could be so. And here's where the father has to play an important part, because here's where the father has to bring him back into reality. The father is not going to tell him he mustn't have friends, but the father must prepare him for these sort of setbacks when they arrive, and they are going to arrive.
Yes. Do you think Errol is being prepared for that?
No, I don't think he has. I don't think he has.
So he's in for some shocks later on, do you
Well,
think?
he is, and I'm positively sure.
Mrs. Gill, do you worry at all about the future of your children?
Yes, I do.
In what way do you worry?
Well, I'm in school, and the jobs they're going to do when they leave school, you know. Particularly Wendy, you know. I always feel she's got a more hard time than...
Can Errol get along easier?
Yes, I think Errol can get on better as he's been a boy, you know. And he goes around a lot, you see. But Wendy hasn't got anybody to take her out or to go out with, you see. And I'm that busy, and her dad
Yes.
always, you know.
How old is Wendy?
Wendy's 40.
40. Does she have a boyfriend?
No.
No.
When Enoch Powell started to make his speeches, his inflammatory speeches, how did you feel then? How did you feel particularly after that 1968 speech of his?
Well, I tried to hate the man, to tell you the truth, but then again, my better judgment told me that I shouldn't. But I could remember after he made the speech, I was going to work one night. And just as I got by the telephone case, there was about 7 chaps coming up Whitehall Road. And you should have heard the remarks, you know, you black so-and-so, why do you not go back, you know, to your country? We don't want the likes of you here. And some of them started to sing, you know, bye-bye Blackbird and things like that, you know. And that old black magic got me on the spell and things like that, you know. You know, it was sickening, really. But I mean, you know, it's 7 blokes. I just walked by and never answered.
Did you think at that time that you might like to go back?
Oh, yes, I did, you know, I did. Because lots of people are quite prepared to accept you. As long as you're not living next to them, you know, or as long as you're not sort of associating with any of their relations. It's all well and good to associate with somebody else's relation and, you know, they're not prejudiced, but once, you know, you walk on their threshold sort of style, then of course you see the sort of thing come out.
How would you feel if Errol married a white girl?
Well, I'll not feel indifferent at all. I think he hasn't got any choice. I mean, the point is there are so few, I mean, you know, so I'll wish him all the best.
And you, Mrs. Gill?
Well, it's the same, you know.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't matter to me. You have all my blessings.
On that day, Gus didn't know just how prophetic his blessings were. He knew Errol was involved with a white girl, but he didn't know just how involved. Susan has been Errol's girlfriend for 2 years. She lives on the top of the hill in a middle-class world where there are no blacks. And Errol's entry into this world on the arm of a white girl has been traumatic. Traumatic not for him, but for the whites on top of the hill. All over Britain, there are small intermarried multiracial groups like those of this party. They're often beleaguered, for as Rocky's wife Doreen says, if you're married black, then your friends are those who've done the same. But what is important about them is that they've come through the most tumultuous racial period this country has known. The years of Powell and immigration panic, and most of the marriages have made it.
When we were all sitting at midnight last night in your house and you told us that you were pregnant and that you were going to get married, what were your feelings then? Were you frightened, or were you hopeful, or what?
I think I felt more relieved, more than
I
anything.
did. Yeah. I was glad that, you know.
Why did you keep it to yourselves so long? You kept that to yourselves for almost a month, didn't you?
Yeah. I would have kept it for longer if you know what I said.
That must have been agony. Were you worried about telling your parents?
I was.
No, not my parents.
Yeah.
I wasn't worried. But I was, because I'm very close to my mum, you know.
Yeah.
And I respect her very much. What she's done for us, you know.
What did your mother say when you told her? You told her this morning. Yeah. What did she say?
Oh, well, no, she wasn't shocked. Well, she was stunned, but not as much as what Susan's mother was. You know. And she took it all right.
Yeah. Are you looking forward to the fact that you'll live in marriage and the baby will make your life fairly ordered? You'll have a pattern, a routine of living. Are you both looking forward to that, to settling down to that situation, bringing up a family? Is that a good prospect to you, Errol?
It'll have to be now, really, because I didn't think that would be, because I didn't think Errol was cut out for anything like that, you know, marriage.
You didn't think he was
cut
out for it, yeah.
Because I think he's too young, and I'm too young, definitely. But
you're 17.
Yeah.
And you're 19.
Has the climate changed to a point where you could say it's going to be easier for Errol and Susan than it was for you and Doreen as a mixed marriage?
No, I wouldn't say so. How I see it is a lot depends on your area where you're living in. Because let's face it, there are areas here where the people are more sort of liberal-minded, and there are areas where people turn their noses up. I mean, because even in this present day and age, at times, if you're walking down the street with a white girl, people looks back. So a lot has to do with your area. So I wouldn't say that time really has so much to do with it. A lot depends on your area, because don't care how long things goes on here in Britain, there always are going to be the type of people who are not going to appreciate mixed marriages. So I think a lot has to do with your area. And I couldn't see Gateshead as being an easy area for him.
Do you think white girls of your age these days don't think twice of going out with young black men, marrying young black men? It doesn't matter anymore to your generation.
I do.
Is that?
I think they do. Some of them do. Some of the ones that care, you know, the respectable ones. But the other ones, there's a respectable kind and there's not respectable kind, you know?
Yeah.
Some girls aren't, some girls aren't. The respectable ones always think twice.
They think twice?
I did.
In what way did you think twice?
I thought, well, what my mum say about this, you know? I'm going out with a colour boy. When I told her, I said, oh, Mum, I've got a date. She said, have you? She was really pleased, you know, because it was one of the first ones I've ever had. And I said, but it's with a colour boy. You should have seen her face. It was really went straight, it dropped, you know.
Do you think, there's two people who are going to contribute to it, do you think there is ever a chance that we might have a peaceful, truly multiracial society? Have you ever thought about that?
Between everybody. Maybe it's the younger generation, but not the older generation.
But you think amongst the younger generation there is a chance?
Oh yeah, the younger generation. Not the older generation, because I think they're more... Oh, what's the word? I think they're more... They want to be more dominating, you know, they want the younger generation to do what they did. You know, we have hard times what they did.
Yeah.
But it's not that way now.
In a few weeks' time, Errol and Susan will be married.
19 and 17, black and white. What are their chances? Errol will almost certainly make it because he's lucky. He doesn't live in a ghetto like Brixton, and he's not one of those young black Britons whose antagonism to our society, their society, is so great that they start school speaking Cockney and leave speaking West Indian. Yes, Errol is lucky and Susan has no illusions, and their unborn child must take his chances. But he'd better get lucky too. For in the last 10 years, the number of black people in mental hospitals has increased fourfold, from 6,000 to 24,000. And most of them are young, and many of them are suffering from schizophrenia, personalities split between black and white. Yes, their child had better get lucky. But of course, if he does get lucky, he'll be starting something.
Fantastic things you see, John. Huh? Go on. Huh?